Hey, sorry about that. Oh, can you hear me? You're buzzing. Okay. Oh, wait, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
You can hear me.
Yeah. You can't hear me?
Let me see.
Okay, how was that?
1 second. I'll switch over. I'm doing Bluetooth headphones right now, but if they don't work, then I will switch over to my regular ones. Connected.
Jessica,
voice.
can you hear me?
What the heck? Add Bluetooth or other device. Bluetooth.
Jess, can you hear me?
Is
Yep, I'm
Okay.
here.
that it? No.
Cody said she couldn't hear me, so I want to make sure. Okay, so Jess, can you do a graphic for the giveaway?
Oh, right. Yeah. I can. Did you still want it today?
No, I don't need it today. I just needed
Okay.
to know today because I was going to have to do
Oh.
a video because my hair was done, but I'm hoping you can do it now.
That is
'cause it's
too
late.
weird. You guys can still hear me, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
I just can't hear you. Why? All right, I'll just switch over to my other headphones. I just tried Bluetooth ones and they're not working.
No, I just need it by Tuesday.
Okay. That should be fine.
And probably even like Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening is fine.
Wrong side. Crap. Why'd I do this like this? Okay. Let me see if this works.
Okay, can you hear us?
Okay. Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, awesome.
You see, I cut my finger
That looks rough.
on a can of green beans as I was scratched just now, but it's fine. I'm good.
No stitches until after.
I know. Yeah, this is gonna need a lot of stitches. It's a bad wound.
Real quick, I'm pulling up the metronome.
Okay, let me start my recording. We are good to go.
And then 3. That's what we figured out.
Oh yeah.
3, 4.
The last time I did it like 5 beats per measure, and I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, there's 6. So I don't know why.
7, 8 is my favorite time signature.
Is that what 5 would be?
No.
Or you're just telling me? It's like, why would you say that?
Because there's lots of different time signatures, and 7, 8 is my favorite one.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, I didn't even tell you who to go. I was just like, they'll figure it out.
Right.
We got it.
Way to go.
We're good. We're good.
Let's go ahead and talk about the guys one first.
Awesome.
Okay, welcome to Postpartum. We'll be talking about the episode where our husbands took over, and they shared some of their thoughts on an article talking about, well, how do they word it? Man shaming? Husband shaming? Dad shaming.
Yeah, dad
That's right.
shaming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was glad that, I think, Jess, you might have found that article. I'm glad that they were able to talk about that. One, because as you guys know, we kind of said this like every one of their episodes. They were kind of like, things are fine. I have no opinions. I have no insight into, whatever. And so
they're forced to when the women aren't around. Then they have to.
Yeah. I was gone for the majority, if not, I think there was like maybe 20 minutes at the end of their recording that I was actually literally gone out of the house. The kids were asleep upstairs. And so I was like, you have to be open now. I can't sneak up on you.
I just would like to say the minute Eden got home, well, I think I got home, he was already home. but I was like, how did it go? And he's like, good. And I was like, I want to make a guess about something. And you tell me if I'm right. I was like, you and Phil had very similar opinions on most things. And TJ was the curveball that was like, I disagree with what you're, and he's like, how did you know? And I was like, I know how this goes. I know the type of father that you are, and it's similar in a lot of ways to the type of father that Phil is, and TJ is different, not in a bad way. They're just different, and so I
noticed that.
What's really funny is we talked about this one afterwards. When I listened to the episode, I brought it up to him, and he actually agrees with what Eden and Phil were saying. Like,
really?
Yeah, he has felt that way before, and he has told me that before. But he has this tendency to he just has a very open mind. He's very intellectual, so he can see multiple sides of it. And while he may necessarily feel how they're feeling, he knows there's like a better way to feel. And so he wants to like advocate for that way, even though he doesn't always do it that way. He can sound like he does. so
he kind of shed that light. Like, didn't he say he's like, I have a tendency to think whatever way because I have a psychology degree, but then I really know whatever. And it's, I mean, I felt like he kind of highlighted that.
That's not like his natural tendency in a lot of cases. His natural tendency is to be more like Eden and Phil, but he just has this knowledge and this experience and this, and I told him that I was like, when you talk, you tend to like come off like you're educating on a certain topic, but you don't actually like delve down deep into your actual emotions and your actual feelings. And he's like, yeah, I know. What are you going to do?
I think it's good though. I think having a different perspective on things is important, and it's good. And it helps Eden to think critically and step back and say, I wonder why this is like, this is a different opinion. I wonder where that's coming from as well. So I think it's great. I'm definitely not complaining. I just thought it was interesting that I had an idea of how this is going to go down, and I was correct.
Although I will say one thing that I thought was interesting that is accurate is that when Eden and Phil said that they didn't care about Father's Day, and they didn't need appreciation or whatever, TJ is not that way, but what he said was accurate, that he, like, when you think about Mother's Day and you think about cleaning and breakfast in bed and gifts and stuff like that, like, he doesn't need that. So if you did that for him on Father's Day, if you gave him a tie or whatever, he's like, okay, cool. He doesn't care at all. So that may be more of what Eden and Phil were talking about, but he does need to feel appreciated. I feel like everyone needs to feel appreciated and like doing it in the way that they need it. And so I think, I can't remember when it was, some recent occasion or something. And we just like did nothing. There was no expectation for him. And he got to play some video games for a while, and he got to choose what we did together or whatever it was. I don't remember, but it was just like really laid back, didn't put any responsibility onto him. And he was like, that was the best day. Thank you so much. So like oftentimes it doesn't take what we think it takes, right? Like we want to do what we want. We want to put our heart and soul into these presents or whatever, and like, maybe they don't care, but I highly doubt that there's any person on earth who doesn't need to be appreciated. Or doesn't need to feel appreciated, right? So that was probably the only thing I would say that he disagreed with them on that was accurate.
A thought I had regarding just this topic, and they mentioned something about expecting gifts, and I don't mean to hyper focus on that word, and I can't remember exactly how Phil worded it, but he was talking about his upbringing and his parents and how they treated him and stuff. And I thought, as I was listening, I don't know, and this probably doesn't apply to everybody, but I don't know many parents who teach their kids that they expect them to get them gifts. Like that kind of, I feel like, I don't know how that, like, and then, I mean, I feel like it'd be usually like the mother will help the kid get a gift for the father for Father's Day. And then hopefully vice versa, or the teacher at school will help the kid get a gift for the children for Mother's Day, maybe not the father, I don't know. But I just thought, well, I don't plan to teach my children that they need to give me a gift. I feel like I had to teach my husband that he needs to get me gifts for my birthday and for Christmas, because he was so, I guess, out of practice with getting gifts. Not even like he was ever in practice. He just didn't have that as a norm. And so I don't know. I just had that thought that I don't know many people who like would them tell their children they need to get them a gift. They would just be like, oh, that's so nice. And
Me, I am that way. Well, I grew up in a home where we did celebrations. Like we did them, whatever it was. We had large family gatherings for holidays. We did birthdays and stuff like that. And TJ grew up in a home where they did celebrate those things, but on a very minimal level.
Yeah.
Like major holidays would just be close family, maybe slightly extended family, like maybe first cousins, but very small gatherings, the same food every time. Birthday celebrations would be dinner and a gift from everyone, but it would not necessarily be on their birthday. Sometimes it would be like weeks or months after because they were too busy or whatever. Yeah. I married into a family. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, because birthdays to me are like a week-long celebration. Like you get to be, we don't like do stuff, but you just get a special, like what do you want for dinner and what do you want to do? Like, and we spread it out. It's not necessarily just the one day, but anyway, so I came from a family where I give gifts, I do Easter baskets and all that stuff. And so it was a major class from when we first got married, but now we've kind of come to more of a middle ground, I guess. Monetary restrictions have prevented me from going full out, but he has stepped up to.
Thank goodness for him, right?
Yeah.
That's how Phil feels.
But I used to do that for my sister too. I would say, hey, reminder, it's Father's Day. You need to make a card or something, because if you don't, the kids aren't going to do it. Yeah. And then they are going to grow up thinking like, oh, I just get gifts. I don't give gifts. Right.
I think on our side, that's why transparency is really important. Talking to our husband, saying, because Eden came to me and he said, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I could have said, oh, nothing, I'm fine. I just want love. I was like, no, I want a handmade card. I want a gift. I want breakfast, and I want some alone time.
Yeah.
Like, those are the things. I don't want to have to wake up with Emmett in the morning. I don't want to have to clean the house. I don't want to have to cook the meals. And I was very clear with what I wanted. And you know what? It was the best. It was a great Mother's Day, because I came in with clear expectations. He knew he needed to come to me and ask me what he wanted, and vice versa. It is our job. And then it is the opposite spouse's, in my opinion, the opposite spouse's job to make sure that the children are contributing. If it's Mother's Day, the dad needs to get in and say, okay, kids, we're going to go shopping. We're going to get mom a gift. If it's Father's Day, the mom gets in and we say, okay, what are we going to do for dad? And then you stay, you come up with a plan, and then you stick to that plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are strategies kids are not going to remember on their own.
Right.
I still struggle. I'm not going to expect my little 4-year-old to be like, "Oh, Mother's Day is this month." Like,
my sister's 18 and she barely knows when my birthday is. I think she knows my birth month, but no one else. She knows nothing.
Oh, no. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So it's our job as spouses, unfortunately, to make sure that the kids are getting something done. I think it can be really fun for them to participate.
Yeah.
But they're not going to remember to do it on their own.
I loved doing things when I was younger. I absolutely loved it. And I thought about what I was saying earlier. Like, I don't think that my mom ever taught me that she needs a gift as much as that she showed it. Like what you're talking about, Cody, like you put it very appropriately, like for other people's birthdays, she went out and did exactly that. And, asked what they wanted and stuff like that. We didn't grow up with a dad, and so that wasn't really relevant. I mean, he existed, and, we had like some loose association. And so I think she even probably supported that, either that, or like she encouraged us to either get him a gift, or we knew that was a thing. Like for every holiday that my mom got gifts for us, I mean, except Mother's Day and Father's Day, we would get gifts for those appropriate things. And so she would do that, like go shopping with us. And it was very ingrained. And I'm sure there's a bit of learned love language with that. I know that was mentioned in the episode, because my mom, I believe, at least that's how she shows a lot of love, is through gifts. And I eat it up. I'm great with that. But through, like you were saying, Jess, the adjustments in the budget and adjustments in expectation or reality, it's kind of adjusted to a little bit more immaterial gifts. And I like, as I already said, you said it perfectly, Cody, with being transparent. And that's been a struggle for me. Before I would just say, like, here's my list, and then I would hope that he would get the ones that I really wanted, like the carriage ride around Temple Square, and it'd be so romantic, and he'd happen to have this and that, and it'd just be like serendipity or whatever. And he didn't usually. And my friend told me once, you have to just say what you want. And I said, that's not fun. That's like non-spontaneous sex.
Well, you have to
like, not fun.
It comes down to pride. It comes down to, you want them to be able to anticipate your needs and be able to make it really special, and because you think that's them showing love, when in reality they're trying. And it's hard to read into our minds sometimes. And so they want to show you love. They just would rather have you tell them. And then they're like, I'm all about that. I will do this all day. I just need to know. So I think sometimes it comes down to us just like putting away that pride a little bit. I'm not saying you're prideful. I'm just thinking in my cases, in the past, I'm like, ugh, they should know.
No, yeah.
And I think you can have the best of both worlds if you continue to communicate. Like, it's taken a long time, but I have been able to communicate with TJ enough for him to know that cleaning literally anything for me is a good gift, right? So like any Mother's Day, birthday, or whatever, he knows a clean kitchen would make me happy this day.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to tell him every time. And I've started doing this thing now because he doesn't do gifts like at all.
Like what we're talking about, like tangible gifts.
Like he'll do the birthday gift or Christmas gift, but other than that, it's really he's just not a gift giver. So I've started like just saying things like, hey, I think I'd really like this, but just like throughout the year.
Yeah.
Like it would be really cool if one time I said I really love cake, and I haven't been able to have cake for like a million years because nobody in my family likes cake. And even like on my birthday, I'm like, I don't want to get a cake because no one likes cake, but I love it.
Go bad too soon.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't want to buy a whole cake for myself either. That's not good.
right. Well, maybe that's worse. It won't go bad.
But I was like,
you can send the rest over here.
Yeah. But I told her, I was like, it would be really cool if for my birthday sometime you got me an actual cake, like not just, down to Macy's, but like get a cake made, right? And I said in the shape of an avocado because I love avocados, and I saw that on Facebook, and I was like, that's so cool. It was like a cake in the shape, So like saying things that you would like repeatedly, because that's very important, the repeatedly part. And then over time, I think your spouse will start to learn the types of things that you want or need or whatever. And they'll be more like, oh yeah, I remember she wanted this. And then it feels more special, even though you did tell them that you wanted it. Maybe it was months ago, so it still feels spontaneous.
Yeah.
Sometimes I message Phil and I say, I'm going to send you some ideas before I forget, and I want you to write these down. And wherever you keep a log, and I think I've even said before, I'm not going to remind you because I'm going to forget these things. So then it really will be a surprise because I won't remember. But your responsibility now, like I've handed them on a platter, you need to restore them in a place that you won't forget where it is. And he's always so grateful for that. On the note of transparency, I had written a note about this episode that I liked. I don't remember how it was presented in the episode, but I had written down good communication. Good communication about a plan is important because somebody had mentioned, one of the guys had mentioned feeling, I mean, it was TJ, feeling annoyed if he feels like challenged, if he hasn't voiced. I think it was in the example of like, you come in at 10 minutes, Jess, when he was thinking, I had it under control at 15 minutes. And I've thought about that the last few days after listening to it with things with Phil. And sometimes I know that I feel this way. I just don't want to explain myself. it makes me feel defensive if I'm like, so as a side note, I think I identified recently that questions bother me, or like there's two kind of tones with questions. There's like inquiring or inquisitive, like, oh, that's like you want to be educated, and then you being whoever the questioning asker is. And then there's like explain yourself kind of approach. And
Mm-hmm.
the latter, I tend to, maybe it's not accurate, but I tend to feel that a little bit more related to things that might induce like mom shaming kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so is it okay for your kids to grow up in the house with the dog? I'm like, eh! And I get like, even though I don't, and I feel like if they were like, that is so cool that you have a dog, I don't know anything about that, like, you know, whatever. So sometimes, so I explained that to Phil, so he had better, just an idea that sometimes I mistranslate things, and I think he's sort of using the same approach where he'll say something like, I know what I'm doing, and that kind of gives me like a signal that don't push him and it's okay, like he's got a plan or whatever, you know. And but I liked how, I think it was TJ saying, if it's appropriate or makes sense to do so, to say like, this is my plan, because it can get tedious to do that for everything, like I'm laying the child down for 15 minutes and I'm going to come tell you through the bathroom door, just so you know, in case you wonder, in 10 minutes, like that's too much, but you know what I'm saying.
I think it is. I totally know what you're saying, and I think it is so hard because I saw this recently on social media. There's usually one parent who is the default parent, right? The parent who, if you're in the room and there's not communication, who's going to watch the kids, that parent is defaultly going to watch the kids. And so with being stay-at-home moms, we get that default. My husband would never think, if he's going to go outside, be like, hey, you got Emma right now? I'd be like, what the, do I have Emma right now? But that's how I am, right? If I leave the room, I say, hey, I'm going to go take the trash out. Are you okay to watch him? And so I think at times that in a sense, power can become, it's really easy to overstep our boundaries with them and have it become kind of a toxic way of communication instead of being helpful. And I also thought that was interesting with the compliments that they were talking about, the compliments that are like basic, like, hey, you did a really good job at getting him ready for dinner. That's not a hard thing.
Like
and
it's belittling.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, wow, thank you so much for changing his diaper. That was really cool, like sweet of you. And he's like, oh.
Yeah. Even though I bet you genuinely meant it, like you probably weren't.
I did. Like, it was a big deal for me, and I really appreciated it. But for him, it seems like it feels ingenuine.
Like, that's just basics. Why do you need to thank
exactly.
me? Yeah.
Like, well, I can do this. This is normal stuff.
I think there's a big difference in the tone of voice that you use as well. Like, the tone of voice that indicates surprise is probably more demeaning than actual gratitude, because I will thank TJ for, like, if TJ gets up before I do to get Jamie out of the crib and get his diaper changed, that's a huge help to me. And so I will say, thank you so much for getting up with him this morning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And like, we do the same thing with meals. Like, I 90% of the time am the one cooking dinner, but he will always thank me for cooking dinner. It's like, that's my job. I cook dinner, but he always thanks me for it. And it's not demeaning in that way, because he's very grateful for it. So I think, and when he cooks dinner, I'm not going to be like, wow, you cooked dinner. Thank you so much.
Boil noodles?
Like, right.
Wow, you actually did this? Huh.
But again, like, I think we do need to show appreciation to each other. Like, even though we are changing diapers every single day, all day, it's nice to have your spouse say, thanks so much for changing all of, his diapers.
And maybe it's what you're thanking them for. If you're saying, thank you for helping me out with that, that's different than saying, wow, good job changing the diaper.
Thanks for taking care of him, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I did a good job changing the diaper. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And I also thought, oh man, what was I going to say? I was going to give you guys an example of me catching myself. So this weekend, just yesterday, we were sitting around and it had been a long day, and we had been doing various things. And so we'd been on our devices a lot, for whatever reason. And I was cooking dinner, and a friend of ours was in our living room, and Eden was in the living room, and they were just sitting on their phones. And I said to Eden, I said, hey, honey, I feel like you've been on your phone a lot today. Could you read Emmett a book? And to him, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, hey, I see that you're on your device right now. There may be something better because we haven't done a lot of interactive play with Emmett today. Maybe this could be a good option. But to him, it was like, you are failing and you need to do a better job. And this has happened before, but it's just so interesting how my intentions are so like, I'm not
Like
trying to tell him
pure?
he's doing a bad job. Yes. I'm just trying to say, hey, I see something, and this could be good. Like, this is a good opportunity to spend some quality time with Emmett. And it's tricky. It's tricky to communicate that. Like, I need to step back and say, okay, I need to communicate really what's in my heart, instead of saying, hey, I feel like you've been on your phone a lot. Can you read our kid a book instead of being on your phone? You know, it's a lot about how you say it. That's going to communicate something very different.
Yeah,
I just thought that was an
good.
interesting example of what they're talking about dad shaming. And I totally did. The way I said that was shaming him. So,
but I think it's just so, I think it's so hard, and maybe it shouldn't be that hard, but because I've been there so many times as well, like I come at it from a different intention. And anyone could say like, well, listen to what I'm trying to say, not what I'm saying. But then there's arguments on every side. People could all the day long give examples of why that doesn't go. And we fought plenty about that, like, that's not what I was saying, or that's not what I meant, or give me a break, and then whatever. But I thought it was really interesting how they kind of covered what they understand mom shaming to be, and they said how it's often other moms that cause that. And then they said they led to how, like, it comes from your partner. And I was like,
yeah.
I don't like this episode anymore.
Yeah.
But I like what TJ said about a lot of it. And I think this is true for mom shaming and for any judgment, that a lot of it comes from our perception of it as well. Because, I'm not going to say yes or no because I obviously wasn't there, but it's likely Eden was on his phone a lot that day, and he should have interacted with Emmett instead. And so, like, it's truth what you're speaking, and I think that that's partly what TJ and I have issues with is I try to be careful with what I'm saying because I am speaking the truth, but he also knows that it's the truth. So I'm basically just shining a light on a flaw that he's already aware of, and making it up. Making a human mistake. And so I think it's really difficult, but it's worth it to try to be careful and communicate in that way. I just did that same thing with him tonight because he was feeding Jamie for me, and he was on his phone while feeding Jamie, and I wanted to say, like, what, interact with him, watch him, make sure he doesn't choke, like, but those are not, like, he's obviously paying attention because he doesn't want him to choke either. But I ended up saying that from what I've been researching, it's best to limit screens when a child is eating so that they can focus on their hunger cues and things like that. And I didn't mention his phone at all, but he was just kind of, I don't know, he usually makes a joke even though, like, I know he's frustrated, he'll joke about it, and that's how I know it's okay because he's not mad at me. But he said something kind of funny or sarcastic or whatever, but then he put his phone away because he knows that that's what he should be doing. And so I don't want to toot my own horn, but I thought that was a good interaction. We didn't argue about it. It was a way for me to communicate my thoughts and my feelings with him, and get the result that I was looking for. But I did find, when I listened to that, I did realize that what Phil said, actually, that maybe like a lot of what they're doing is they're doing it that way because their head is in a different spot, or because they're I can't remember exactly what he was saying now, but just that they're doing it differently, and that's not a bad thing. And I think being the stay-at-home mom, being with Jamie as much as I am, and also my personality to be very controlling and micromanaging in a lot of areas, that, like, how much of my correction is coming from a place of control. Like,
Yeah.
this is how
for
I do
sure.
it every single time. So
Mhm.
you need to do it that way. But do they actually have to do it that way? Is it going to
Yeah.
be disastrous if they don't? I mean, maybe. Like, he was eating today and I was just mentioning something about like sizes of food, because I've done all the research on choking hazards. And so I just communicated saying, this is what I've learned about choking hazards, but I'm not going to step in and say, like, feed him this way or do it that way, because it doesn't matter. As long as he knows the basics and how to keep our son safe, then he can do it however he wants to.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
I was just going to say, I really appreciate that. Sorry, that you
You're good. You're
that
good.
you highlighted that as well. Yeah, that was it resonated with me as well. Just remembering that you can both be right. And sometimes it just depends. Like, I'm not saying it's this clear, but both approaches might be okay. Like you were saying, like with that situation with eating, it just may, in the long run, a plan, like when there's situations that you need to make a plan for, like a game plan, then you might have to decide one way or another together. But, but one way or the other may not be worse or wrong. But sorry, go ahead, Cody.
I was just going to say, when they were talking about where shame comes from with different parental roles, I think that part of it is moms have this standard in society, right? We take our kids out and there's this expectation, and I've seen it plenty of times in public, that we are going to, our kids are going to be well behaved. We're going to have snacks for them. We're going to bring sunscreen. We're going to push them on the swing. They're not going to climb too high, but they're going to climb high enough to where they're able to explore. And with dads, I have seen this, that if they're present, they're killing it. They're like, good, you're doing it. You're there. Like, my husband can go to the park, sit on his lawn chair and throw the ball for our dog, and people are like, oh, how do you do it? And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Let me just run back to the car to put another layer of sunscreen on and the 4 other layers of clothing I brought, just in case the weather changes, and the snack and the water bottle.
Yeah.
And I biked here, by the way. So cool. I'm glad that and it's not that extreme, but I have seen it. I've noticed it. And so that, I think that changes where the shame comes from. I think outside, we as moms see this, and we're held to this standard by other people. And so when our husbands are doing stuff that maybe you think, you identify, oh, this could be done better, it comes from you, because other people are just cheering them on for existing in their kids' lives.
Yes. I just
that's in our defense.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying,
thank you.
That's in our defense.
Yes.
There.
Yes. I just wanted to mention something in support of that before we finish. That coworker, his wife had something happen. She had a baby. They had a baby, and then I don't know if she was sick or if she was on vacation or she had to go back to the hospital for something, but she was unavailable to mom for some time, and I want to say it was like a week or 2 or something like that, or maybe it was I think it was only a week, but it doesn't matter. The point is that I overheard a coworker, and granted, this is what I understood, not what had happened. So I just want to for the universe to know, I don't know that this is the situation, but if this was the situation, this is how I responded. She said, way to go. This was another female coworker, said, way to go, Mr. Momming it. And I was like,
Yeah.
He doesn't need praise for working and being a I mean, like, he wasn't
and
Mr.
Momming it, like, way to be a dad. You're doing a great job being Mr. Momming it. No.
Yeah.
No.
And I was like, I mean,
I would not be about that either.
We all people need to be appreciated, right? Like, like TJ had mentioned, like, valid. I think it's awesome when any parent shows up for their child. Great. But to be like, you deserve a trophy for this, I'm like, okay, there's plenty of single dads that would probably be like, and then also every other mother, like, okay.
Well, and that the expectation is now like lost on, it's no longer fatherhood if you're if you're staying at home. You are now taking on the role of a mother.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Because that's the expectation of mothers.
Yes.
You're just as a father, you're just supposed to be there. If you're there, you're good, right? You can do whatever you want.
You go
But
to
if
work
you're-
and you come home and you just exist or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
think
I
it's
was
so interesting.
definitely, I mean, it didn't really help that I didn't really like this coworker anyway, but I was just like, you know, so I do appreciate that our husbands met and talked about this, especially because like we said, in their individual ones, I feel like they were kind of, I don't want to say defensive, but maybe not as inclined to talk about some of their deeper feelings, you know, and I appreciated them being so much more candid, you know, even though we were kind of like, ugh.
And they handled it so well. They handled
Yeah.
it so well. I don't feel like at any point they were like, our wives suck. You know?
Right.
They're good. And
Yeah.
that's, Eden told me too. He's like, no, I feel like you do really well not shaming me. And the times that like it happens, we work through it really well. And he was very appreciative because I think reading the article, he realized that there are men out there that are not treated well and that do not work through things that come up with their wives. It's just not a good environment. So he was grateful.
That's awesome. Jess, do you have any thoughts before we conclude?
I just had one more thing that stood out to me was I think it was Eden who said about the shaming or when they feel shamed, it makes them not want to try.
Yeah.
And that just really resonated with me because I think as moms, or at least in my position, it is so helpful for me when TJ comes to meet me, not necessarily in the middle, but meet me somewhere to help, to be a support, to be a partner in parenting. And he wants to do that, but I'm sure there are times, just like there are times for me when I don't want to do that. And how much harder would it be if I had someone judging me in my home for what I was doing, right? Or criticizing me or correcting me for what I was doing. And I wouldn't want to show up for that either. And I think when we have issues with our spouse not being there for us to help us with our children, that's something that we can remember. And like I was saying in the beginning, everybody needs to feel appreciated, and they do too. And when they don't feel appreciated, when they do feel criticized, they're going to check out because they have the ability to. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like the natural maternal instinct to where, because we were just talking about this tonight, like I was making dinner and he was taking care of Jamie, feeding him and stuff. And I was having like mom brain moments and I was like, oh, I'm so frustrated that like my ability to multitask has diminished because a portion of my brain is always on Jamie. Jamie's whining. What does he need? Why is he, you know, like all that stuff. He's like, well, you don't need to think about him because I'm taking care of him, kind of like that was shaming him. And I was like, no, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. You could be taking amazing care of him. If he is nearby or even not nearby, a portion of my brain is dedicated to him. It's biological or whatever. And so I don't know if that's the reason or if there's some other reason, but I personally feel like I can't check out. I can't give up. I can take some time, but even when I take that time, I'm going to feel bad for not, you know, whatever. Yeah. So, but my spouse does have that ability and I don't want him to feel that way. And he doesn't want to feel that way. So it's really just motivated me more to not necessarily give him praise for everyday tasks, but just show my appreciation for him showing up and for being, you know, my partner and my support there. And I think together when we do that, we make better parents for Jamie.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's a great place to conclude. So we want to thank you all for tuning into this postpartum, and make sure to check next week's because we have a great episode where we're going to be talking with, well, make sure to check out the episode and then the postpartum where we have a guest, Shantae, talking about raising an inclusive and what was the next part, Jess? Inclusive and diverse generation. So thanks. We'll talk to you later. I have to go to the bathroom real quick. So I'll end this one and then we can do a new one. Okay.
Do you want us to get a new audio?
No, just do it all in the same. That's okay.
Okay. Well, I have this crazy time frame.
What?
71,573,177.12 remaining time.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
I'm going to end it, okay? Don't cut you off.